Hashtag YouTube News Script AI and Tech Edition. Good morning and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, and we've got some fascinating stories to break down today that sit right at the intersection of technology, politics, and our everyday lives. Whether you're concerned about election security, worried about distinguishing humans from AI, or just curious about the latest smartphone innovations, we've got you covered. So stick around as we dive into today's top 3 stories. Let's start with something that's been making major headlines this week. The U.S. Postal Service is reportedly planning to implement a directive that could fundamentally change how mail-in voting works in America. According to CNN, under a new plan tied to the Trump administration, state election officials are facing what many are calling an impossible choice. Either they hand over their voter lists to federal authorities, or they risk losing Postal Service delivery for mail-in ballots entirely. Now, this is raising serious red flags among election officials across the country who worry about voter privacy, data security, and what this could mean for voter access in the 2026 election cycle. The implications here are huge. Mail-in voting has become a critical part of how Americans vote, especially for elderly voters, people with disabilities, and those who work on Election Day. So this directive is sparking intense debate about election integrity, federal authority, and what happens when those two things come into conflict. Now let's shift gears to something that's becoming increasingly relevant in our everyday interactions. How do you actually prove you're not artificial intelligence? This might sound like a strange question, but according to KQED, it's becoming a real problem. BBC Tech columnist Thomas Germain recently experienced something that probably sounds familiar if you've been paying attention to AI developments. During a phone call with his aunt, he literally could not convince her that he was a real person and not an AI. Think about that for a second. The sheer volume of AI-generated content flooding the internet right now has gotten so sophisticated that distinguishing a real human voice from a fabricated one is genuinely difficult. We're not talking about obvious deepfakes anymore. We're talking about everyday conversations where the audio quality is good, the responses are natural, and the person on the other end can't quite tell if they're talking to their nephew or a chatbot. This raises fascinating questions about authentication, trust, and how we verify identity in an increasingly digital world. As AI continues to improve, this problem is only going to get more pressing. Finally, let's talk about something more consumer-focused but still deeply tied to artificial intelligence. Samsung just unveiled the Galaxy S26 Ultra and the Galaxy S26 Plus, and these phones are packed with Galaxy AI features that are reshaping what flagship smartphones can do. According to Sam Mobile, both phones share the same design language, the same Galaxy AI capabilities, and the same display technology. The real difference comes down to what you prioritize. The S26 Ultra goes all out with the absolute cutting-edge features and maximum performance, while the S26 Plus offers a strong all-around package that handles the fundamentals beautifully for people who don't need every single bell and whistle. What's really interesting here is how integral AI has become to flagship smartphones. These phones aren't just using AI as a gimmick anymore. They're using it for real productivity features, for photography enhancements, for optimization across the entire operating system. If you're thinking about upgrading your phone this year, these are definitely worth looking at. So there you have it. 3 stories that show us where technology is heading, from government policy to authentication challenges to consumer devices. The world of AI and technology moves incredibly fast, and these stories represent just a slice of what's happening right now. Thanks so much for watching. If you found these stories interesting or useful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for daily AI updates.